The idea of a TV show or a movie being realistic is kind of a weird thing, or at least in the way that people talk about it. I'm sure you're used to hearing on the internet when people talk about a movie, especially a historical movie, that it's not realistic enough or that things aren't accurate, but I don't really think that that's a valid criticism. A film doesn't need to be a one-to-one recreation of what really happened in real life. That's what documentaries are for. A lot of times, things in real life are maybe more boring or just aren't as interesting. And that's okay. I don't think that we should be using realism as a benchmark, but rather as a tool or an aspect to judge a film by. The main example I'm going to be using for this part is Disney's Pocahontas. To me, Pocahontas is one of the clearest examples of when it's important to get historical realism right. The portrayal of the relationship between English colonizers and the native people of Virginia is not accurate, obviously, but the issue isn't that it's not accurate. The issue is that it portrays that in a way that is harmful to the people represented in the film. The real-life Pocahontas was a 12-year-old girl, and in the film she's represented as like a 25-ish-year-old girl who's falling in love with some other 25-year-ish-old English guy instead of being a 12-year-old girl who, in reality, probably didn't actually save a like 30 or 40-year-old English settler. This is an issue not because that's not what happened in real life. This is an issue because it harms the legacy of real people who went through real things. The real Pocahontas would go on to marry a man 10 years older than her in what was basically a diplomatic marriage. The issue with Pocahontas is not just that it misrepresents what happened in real life, or at least that's not the reason that it's bad. It's not bad because this isn't what happened in real life and therefore it's an issue. The reason that it's bad is because it reinforces harmful stereotypes and tarnishes the legacy of real-life people who went through real-life tragic events. If that doesn't make any sense, let me give you an example of when I think that historical realism isn't as important. In the film The King, we have a portrayal of the Battle of Agincourt between English and French armies in roughly the 1400s. In real life, the Battle of Agincourt is very well known because it was the best example of British archers overcoming armored troops. In the film, archers aren't really focused on very much, and obviously, that means that it's not very accurate to what happened in real life, but I don't think that that really matters as much. People use this fact, the fact that archers aren't focused on, to call this a bad film or to cite this as an issue with the film, but I don't really think that applies here. Am I made to believe that because a battle 600 years ago had a bunch of archers that this film is a worse piece of art? I don't think so. The lack of British archers in this battle in the film doesn't make it a worse film because the battle is still engaging and it isn't harming anybody. The fact that this isn't an accurate portrayal of the battle does not make it a worse film because in comparison to Pocahontas, where the lack of historical accuracy causes harm to actual people and groups, whether in tangible ways or just in reputation, in this example, just because there aren't as many archers as there were in real life, doesn't mean the film is worse. It still serves its narrative purpose perfectly fine, and it isn't actually harming anybody. To summarize, I don't think that people use the idea of realism in film in the correct way. A film not being realistic isn't a problem because the facts don't align. A film being unrealistic isn't an issue just because the facts don't align, and in fact, a film can be unrealistic or inaccurate and not be bad. The issue is that when realism and the lack of realism harms real people or the reputation of real groups.